Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Morning, everyone, to our first Commission on Aging Well meeting for 2026. Welcome, everybody. First agenda item is to approve the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them. Any amendments to them? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I would move to approve as submitted.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. We're going to move. Going to jumble the agenda just a little bit and go right to the report from the Senior Center Friends.
Thank you, Paul. Not much to report because the Friends have not met since our last Commission on Aging Well meeting. But in the interim, the end of the year, we've had several significant donations totaling about $7,300.
Wow.
With people wanting to get them in before the end of the tax season. And we've had supported the Senior Center to the tune of about $400. And that's about it, just financial, nothing to say because we haven't had our meeting yet. We'll be meeting later this morning in half an hour or so. And one of the agenda items will be to select a date for the pancake breakfast to come next, probably April. So at our next meeting, I can put that date out for you to put on your calendars. And that's my report.
Is the board full?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, couldn't remember.
Full of what I will
Well,
say.
yeah, right, full, full of members.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, we move to public appearances. We have a guest.
Yeah,
Jill, would you
so
please
super
introduce?
excited. I will let Sarah tell a little bit about herself, but we hired another Sarah to replace the other Sarah. So that's really easy. So welcome, Sarah, and
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, I'm Sarah Ostman. I am the new 24-hour-a-week, so part-time case manager down in the Senior Center. And I most recently am coming from, so I've got a background in case management at the Senior Center in Madison. It was my first job. Then worked down the road at a Grace for many years, both on the inpatient unit and then out doing home care for about 8 years. And then most recently was at the ADRC of Dane County. So a lot of really relevant experience. I'm very happy to be back in the world of case management. It's really my skill set, kind of holding the whole person and troubleshooting, and this seems like a great team to do it. So I'm very excited and looking forward to working with the Spanish speakers. I am bilingual in Spanish, so that feels like a good asset here. I've already met several and really excited to dive into that. So,
Are you from the area?
I live in Verona.
Okay.
I'm from the Twin Cities originally, but I've got a spouse, 3 kids. We live in Verona. They're all school age. So that was another draw to not be too far from home. But yeah.
And how did you become bilingual? What led to that?
Yeah, so I didn't know any Spanish till I went to college, but I got really excited about study abroad. Everybody talked about studying abroad, and I thought, well, if I'm going to spend the money and take the time, I might as well come out of it with a new skill. And so I was immersed with two host families in both Costa Rica and Nicaragua for an academic year, so 2 semesters. I learned a lot, but actually I came back and then worked in a Mexican restaurant as the only non-native. And it was like, that was my conversation. I had a lot of good skills, and then we'd work and then we'd go hang out. And then that laid a really solid foundation to then get a job working with seniors who spoke Spanish. And that was where I learned all sort of the professional language, talking about Medicare and Medicaid and all those things in a different language. So it's been various places, but immersion was really the foundation, so.
Do you have specific days of the week that you're working here?
Yes.
What is your schedule?
Monday through Thursday, about 8 to 2.
Are we your only gig right now?
Oh yeah, only gig in terms of work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of work.
Yeah, I was working full-time at the ADRC, and it was 7:45 to 4:30. It was up on the north side of Madison. It was too much time away from home and just too grueling. So yes, this is my only job. I'm thrilled to be at this number of hours and closer to home and doing this good work. So it was really felt to me like perfect, a strong word, but it really felt like a perfect fit. So very happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay,
Isn't that
sounds
simple?
good.
It's that simple.
Have a good rest of your meeting. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Okay, Jill, 2026 initiatives.
Okay, so that's, I always like to kind of set some goals for the beginning of the year. And it feels a little different this year with the restructuring of the departments. And so just trying to balance, focusing on the needs of the center, focusing on the needs of this restructure. And there's just a couple things I wanted to bring you guys in on some decision-making that I think will be important as we move forward. First is how both our department and the recreation department rent rooms, policy about room renting, fees about room renting, the way that we, if an instructor came to us and said, we want to teach this, and then they came to them, because that's happened before, that we have very consistent policy. So if they're going to offer yoga at night or during the day, that it's the same policy. It's still the 80-20 split, but the forms aren't the same. I also want to look at adding more rec programs, senior rec programs, weekends and nights, which impact rentals, and looking at, what is being rented, what rooms are being rented and why. Over the course of the years, we've done a lot of rentals in the dining room, in the senior center, and upstairs for parties on the weekends, and that almost always eliminates being able to do programs, consistently. If somebody, because people are scheduling now, so they can schedule out, and I have this anniversary or this birthday, so then if you want to do a 6-week program, you can't. So trying to just take a step back and look at the values of what is the building for, who should we be serving, how should we be serving, how much money, or is it worth the money that they're taking in on these rentals? Also with rentals, you have to have building attendants. And there's only so many hours allocated for building attendants. So if those hours have to go along with rentals, we won't have those hours available to have building attendants to cover our programs, because it's very limited. And so that's a big priority for me, because it will drive how we're able to program in the future. So it's there's a lot that encompasses that. So back, looking at the independent contractor policies, looking at the rental policies, I've asked one of the staff, Evelyn, at REC to start to gather information, what other community centers do and how they rent and what they charge, and just look at some comparisons and move forward with that in a really comprehensive, just consistent way for both departments.
From a budget standpoint, how important are rentals?
Right. So for a couple of years, well, more than a couple, I have asked to put in money to hire a consultant to do sort of a cost-benefit analysis, because we really don't know. Nobody really knows. We can kind of say, well, they cost us this, but when you look at all the factors of the time spent, cleaning supplies afterward, building attendance, registration, wear and tear on equipment, it's not near, in the past it was terrible. I mean, we had party after party after party, and the cleanup and things got broken. It's not like that anymore because they really toned down on alcohol and that kind of stuff. And so we don't really know, but that's kind of my goal, is to start to gather that information from finance, to work with rec, who's using it, why, and then also too, looking at, we don't want to take away neighborhood associations, nonprofits that are Fitchburg, but just really re-looking, how do we prioritize?
How's this hub gonna come into that? Couldn't that be a substitute
That's a
location?
very good question. We have a meeting about the hub next week to discuss how that building is going to be used. There is talk about renting it as well, and I just want to be real careful, as we move forward. And I think it comes down to, who do we want to serve and how? In this community, a lot of the renters for parties and stuff aren't necessarily from this community, but it's relatively inexpensive to rent here. They've upped the cost over the years, which is kind of scaled back, because this, I can say without a doubt, this was known as, come and have your party here. It's cheap. Let them keep the deposit. Like, it was messy. We have pictures to prove, and that's not how it is anymore. But again, if we're going to grow programs to serve this community of all ages, how do we prioritize that building? So anyway, that's a big discussion. Something I don't want to decide. I need to gather information, but I do definitely want you guys' input as we move forward with that.
Do you have set guidelines on who rents from here? I mean, groups to...
Their guidelines are pretty simple. It's more like, are you a resident, non-resident? Are you a for-profit or nonprofit? There was churches using space. I don't think anymore, but it's just, I don't think it's been looked at for a really long time. And so, I think about just laying this good groundwork now, not that my staff at the center have to rent, but I want us all to be very aware of what the policy is. If somebody asks us, we can at least respond. But it's a good, consistent policy that the city is behind, because these are big changes. It's sort of like when we scaled back the alcohol. Years ago, I've advocated very hard not to rent the kitchen downstairs because of the damage that we would incur. We would come in on Monday and we still have a crack in the sink, or the stove would just be a mess. And a lot of user groups, they're like, keep my deposit. So over the years it has changed, but I think it's a good time to look at it again, as there are other places in Fitchburg that people can go to rent, for different occasions. But again, what is that building? Who should it serve and how?
And those trade-offs between one-time use and programs, are there opportunities lost then for the greater population with the one-time use?
I think it will be, because I haven't attempted to do a lot of programs, because I see there's some rec programs, or there's rentals, and I haven't dived into it too much, but it's definitely a goal of mine to, if it's up to me, we would be programming from morning till night, every single day. Not yet, so, but if I can't do that unless we have policy that allows us priority for the rooms.
Who is the contact for renting the rooms now? Recreation?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they rent it without consulting you at this point?
Right, and they can't rent during 8 to 4 like our rooms. It's very, right, like the lower level, I'm sorry. So, but they could rent so it's always been sort of this understood, like, from 8 to 4, the senior center gets the lower level. No questions asked, every room is ours. Then we started to program more over the years on the upper level. So, right now, already Dave's put in all the programs that happen on the upper level, whether it's in the Oak Hall room, we periodically, every Monday we use the Fitchburg room. I mean, we're starting to take over. So as long as we get that stuff in before January 1st and people start calling, we do sort of have priority. But if in another 2 months we say, God, it would be great to offer this program in the evening. Oh shoot, we've got this being rented, this being rented. And then weekends is more of the party stuff, not during the week. So Janice got, anniversary, birthdays,
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, a lot of cultural parties, and different celebrations, yeah. Janice, go ahead.
So really what you're looking at doing is taking a deeper dive to take a look at policies, practices, and procedures overall. Okay.
Yep, and you know, we can develop policy, but I think the bigger question is gonna be, you know, is there going to be pushback in you know, in terms of like, no, you know, we need to be able to rent to people as well. So policy, but the bigger question is, do we start to move forward saying we want to get rid of party rentals? Instead, you know what I mean? Like, we could look at the policy of the party rentals, but the bigger picture is that how we want the building to be used? So it kind of goes hand in hand.
So I guess what I'm saying, so we take a look at what's been happening already at your policies, but then what's been the practices and the procedures, and then you take a look and make your adjustments or what have you. Yeah. Okay.
And I think it'll take a while to figure that out. There's a lot of information to be gathered. So
on behalf of the Commission on Aging Well, I mean, this group, the notion of having more programming, at the beginning, you had mentioned doing more programming evening and weekend. We have this whole population of aging adults that are still actively engaged in the workforce. Who cannot be here 8 to 4 Monday through Thursday.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, just self-serving in terms of the commission work. I applaud you for looking at ways to bring 50-year-olds into our building.
Well, and again, it ties into the building attendants as I'm diving deep into. They're all LTEs, you know. So there's only, you know, the city allocates during budget time X number of hours. Sort of like our exercise instructors. I say I need 650 hours for them to be able to teach those classes. Now, if I go over, I need a budget amendment. I can't have them do anything more. So if I can shift some of these hours of these building attendants from the rentals, from the parties to programs, then there is no cost impact. You know, so it's shifting those dollars around.
So we really need to take a look at the data. What's been happening.
Absolutely.
We gotta take a good look at that.
So I've been sort of trying to collect the data, just in terms of who rents and why, and then work with finance. How much money are they really bringing in, and is it worth it? And again, but the bigger picture is, what does this city want? What do we want to provide? What kind of city do we want to be to our community?
Yeah, because for some people, it isn't the only resource they have for, it sounds to me like the rec department is treating City Hall like one of the shelters in the park. And they're renting
the community
it.
center, right. I mean, that's what they were tasked to do.
Right.
But now with the restructure and, you know.
The city really needs to have a policy on what it wants to provide as far as resources or facilities for people to use. I mean, I have talked to people who like renting, because they have a large group and they have no place else to go, and it's very difficult and very costly.
It's costly, and this is much more affordable.
Right, and so you have to consider too that you have a large segment of the population that needs access.
Well, it might be interesting then to see what other communities are doing with that, if they afford certain times or their timelines for varying groups. Or it'll be interesting.
So
data is a powerful thing.
So I'll start collecting the data, the finances, and continue to bring it to every meeting, because it is going to be driven by policy and decisions like that. So that's a big initiative. And then sort of along those programming lines is I want to develop a program sponsor policy where we seek out business sponsors to say yoga, sponsored by UW Health or something like that. And then also too, like you know, we have some legacy money that we could cover the cost of programs, but I want to be consistent about how, why, you know what I mean? Like, why would you offset the cost of this program and not this program? And just have a bigger discussion about that. But the sponsorship policy is more about bringing businesses on board and saying, you know, hey, we've got this 6-week class, you know, a chiropractic clinic, or, you know, something about, you know, like UW Health and the dietitian, living well with diabetes. Do you want to sponsor this class so we can then offer it for free for our people? Or do we say, well, you know, if you have this kind of income level, we'll offer it at this cost? So a bigger conversation about that, because I don't, you know, I don't see budgets growing real big, but if we can develop these sponsorships within the community and businesses, but I need a policy to kind of drive that.
We've not done that in the past?
Not real formally, no,
We've talked about that last year, but you're actually speaking of two different programs, actually. You talked about the legacy program, that's one thing.
Right.
And then sponsorship is another, so you're talking two, okay.
Two different, right,
Yeah.
they would be two different things. How are we using our donations?
Yeah.
You know, but then if we want to build community relationships, which kind of was that second part of our outreach almost, was reaching out to the businesses, you know, but that's part of it. But it's really more about offering, you know, wonderful, affordable programs for people. But I just don't want to do it willy-nilly. So then, you know, there's policy that drives that. Or if a business comes and says to me, which kind of, you know, we want to sponsor this, you know, does that mean we're endorsing it? Does that, you know what I mean? So just to be just real cognizant about all of the things that kind of factor into that. So that's my second short term. I call it short term because I'd like to have this wrapped up by June. No, I'm kidding. I'm very impatient, but it's going to take a while to kind of flush out. You know, and then lots of long terms with the restructure that I'm still just doing a lot of gathering of information and trying to not be too impatient about changes I want to see or goals. But I you know, the role of this committee is going to change a little bit because I don't feel that I cannot bring you issues that are happening with H&I or that are happening with the rec, because now it's under my umbrella. So I'm not going to just talk about senior programs when I come to these meetings, because that my job is bigger than that, and this commission, you know, is, you know, my guiding, you know, I want to bounce these ideas off of you. And so
Does rec have their own?
No, they had a Parks and Rec Commission, but it really was generally all about parks and building. There were so many RFPs and so many things that went into building parks and shelters that rec didn't really have a big, strong voice at those meetings. And how we incorporate that here, I'm not sure yet. So those are discussions to be had. I think organically we'll have those, you know, discussions, you know, maybe eventually, you know, I don't know, long-term programs we're hitting all ages, or we're saying this program is for 18 and over, but it's offered during the day, or, you know, so most people aren't gonna come unless they're retired, but that's long-term, is to figure that out. But I won't not bring you things that are happening with H&I or rec. I will always report on them and seek, you know, your input on decisions, because it impacts us.
So do you see this commission changing its role to not only dealing with aging well topics, but also rec topics? Would you be involved in more of a global look at everything, or?
To me right now, that feels like the right comfort zone. You know, do we develop another commission for rec? H&I has their own oversight committee, which is the Healthy Neighborhoods. But in my mind, all of these are connected. You know, all of these are connected. How we serve this community, how we're reaching out to the neighborhoods, what input, you know, and I can share more, but working with Jessica, like, what did you learn from these outreach things that you did. What programs did these people want? What did the older adults say? What did the residents say for youth? Because then I go back to rec and say, listen, here's a direct correlation. This is what they're finding. These are programs that we need to offer. How can we do that? So it's such a bigger part that right now I feel like you guys are you are my commission. Whether this commission's name changes to Recreation and Community Services, which I don't think I need a separate commission, but I welcome your input.
Or maybe someone from rec add someone
A blending.
with that, just, I don't mean to speak on behalf,
Yeah.
but someone with that interest or background or to represent.
I think so.
Right.
I mean, as we start to, every year add new members, maybe we're seeking out someone from the community that has kids. And someone from the community from these H&I neighborhoods. So for the Commission on Aging, I think you had to be a certain age. So this is that's an ordinance change, and that's kind of long-term as well. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, you could have a guest like Jerry, you could have a guest representative too, like Friends.
You mean to represent, but we need somebody to represent the younger population,
Right.
maybe.
A broadening of the makeup of the commission.
Membership, and maybe the charge would need to be
Different.
reviewed.
But until then, you have Friends represented, they could attend or give
Yeah,
advice. They wouldn't be able to vote though, right?
right. So yeah, I don't see their role changing a lot. I see me seeking out somebody that's going to represent a different population. So.
That's very forward thinking.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to happen, but these are the things that are
Yeah.
in my brain because I do see a lot of, we're all connected. It's all connected because we should be serving the community, the whole community. And now we have access to more information through H&I, hopefully, and more people getting their input, not just what we think.
Yeah.
So those are my initiatives. Now, how we go about that, I'm not sure yet. But at least the rental policy, I'll be bringing stuff to you guys probably every month to determine how we create a very consistent policy for the renting and how we move forward, possibly with changing who and why, how we use the space, making a decision on that.
Might you want the person that is gathering comparable language from doing the same on the sponsorship? If they're going to look at the websites or make calls to those different sites, maybe.
Yeah, and they had dabbled in that a little bit too, but yeah, I'll see if Evelyn is collecting that, because she had brought that up last year, just in passing when we were talking, that she wanted to do that too, so yeah. So that's what I see, as well as continuing this outreach effort that I think has been so valuable. And we keep on keeping on using the knowledge that we gained and making improvements and doing the things we set out to do. So that's it.
Do you have a director's report?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched upon that, just continuing to meet with other staff and understand budgets and things like that. Really happy to have Sarah on board. She started Monday, and I can see her working at the ADRC, which is the Adult Disability Resource Center. We work very closely with them. She has a wealth of knowledge about benefits, the ins and outs of benefits, which is huge, Medicare, Medicaid, supplemental insurances, as well as being bilingual, but it's really great to have her on board. It's been a good feel, you get a really good vibe, and I'm happy to have her here. Unfortunately, our student intern took a different role. It was not a good fit for us or her. It's just not a population that she was comfortable with. And so she is placed in a environment with school-age children and very happy. So it was a little difficult to do, but it was taking a lot of work. And so it was mutual. We went with the instructor and the student and made a decision to have her placed elsewhere. So you know, that's okay. That's what internships are for. At least you found out you didn't like to work with older adults. So, you know, sometimes it's easier to figure out what you don't like than what you do like. We did bring on another LTE, actually 2 LTEs in December. So with Chris, you know, Chris's husband had passed, she's dropped down to 2 days a week. And so we brought on a woman named Karen Christensen to cover the other 2 days a week in the kitchen. She had been a volunteer for a while. She's a meal driver, and just wonderful. And she was able to kind of just step in because she had been volunteering for a while, so she understood the kitchen really well. So Chris is taking Mondays and Thursdays, and Karen takes Wednesdays and Fridays. And Karen knew that this is potentially temporary, that you know, Chris will go back to her 4 days a week, but for now it's working really, really well. So, and then
Mandy covers Tuesday? Is that what? Is that what?
And that's our quietest day, like 12 people, so it's a very easy day, and the 3 gentlemen in the kitchen are wonderful, so they don't need a lot of hand-holding at all. And then one of our exercise instructors, Felicia, is going to see her daughter for 4 months, so we really had to bring on another instructor who will be picking up some of those Wednesdays. So in the olden days, I could just bring them on and give them a time card. In the new day, it's a lot of paperwork to go through for anything. So it took a lot of work in December to bring both these people on board. We did a personal essentials drive. I worked with Jessica to reach out to the H&I neighborhoods and identify some contact people. There's a lot of food drives going on, but the personal essentials is a little bit different. So we did a big personal essentials drive for the month of December and connected with Good Shepherd, Leopold School, and Ally Drive. Did a lot of diapers and things like that. So just a good kind of relationship building, and volunteers are dropping that off this week and next week. I'd like to bring Dave and Mandy here in February to just give a sort of 2025 wrap-up of numbers and what they've been doing, and you know, certainly Mandy too on the volunteer front. So I do have them on the agenda for February, and then I'd like to bring the transportation engineer in probably in March to talk about the changes that hopefully are happening with the bus route, and to give us an update on that too, because I'm not sure where that is. And that is really my report, just kicking off the new year. Yeah, any questions?
Off and running.
Off and running, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at the end of the agenda.
Yeah.
Are there any other announcements that anybody wants to make before we entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So our next meeting is February 12th. I will be gone and excommunicado, so.
2025 instead of 2026 instead of 2025.
Yes.
So close.
Yeah, that's right. You're one digit off. That's okay. And I'll be, I guess my next meeting, I'll be zooming in from Arizona.
Okay. All right.
All right, motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.